Have you ever looked at your bank account, seen a small buffer in there, and thought, okay, this month I'm finally going to get ahead? And then your tire blows out, your card gets charged for a subscription you forgot about, and you are suddenly back at zero? It's demoralizing, especially when you hear someone wealthy say that saving money gets easier after you hit your first $20,000 or $50,000. If you are struggling to keep $50 in your account, that sounds like nonsense. Most financial advice frames this early struggle as a personal failure. They tell you to cut out coffee and be more disciplined, treating a structural reality as a simple lack of willpower. But the truth is that the first $5,000 is the most difficult phase of wealth building. During this stretch, you are fighting tight mathematical margins, unpredictable emergencies, and the friction of your own psychology all at the same time. Once you understand the hidden forces working against you, it becomes possible to stop the cycle of constant financial resets. This is the reality for a typical household. Bring home $4,000 after taxes, and rigid costs like housing, transportation, and groceries stack up, leaving a tiny sliver of cash. With a $200 margin, reaching $5,000 takes 25 months, over 2 years of perfect execution. But life isn't a spreadsheet. That 2-year timeline assumes you never have an urgent care bill, a car repair, or a single week where you are too exhausted to cook and spend money on convenience. The Federal Reserve tracks how these interruptions affect the average person. In 2024, they found that more than a third of U.S. adults could not fully cover a hypothetical $400 emergency using cash. This vulnerability is often compounded by high-interest debt. If you carry a $4,000 credit card balance at a 24% interest rate, you are losing roughly $80 every month just to keep the debt from growing. That interest quietly eats your margin before you can even begin to save. Saving early isn't a budgeting issue, it's a margin issue. When your surplus is this incredibly thin, the math of daily life ensures your progress will be constantly interrupted. But the numbers are only half the story. The rest is about how your brain responds to those numbers. When an unexpected expense hits, you take 2 losses. There is the money hit of paying for the repair, but there is also the emotional hit, the feeling that all your recent progress was completely for nothing. Because you lack a buffer, every dollar in your account feels fragile. It feels temporary, as if it's already been claimed by the next inevitable emergency. It's like pushing a heavy stone uphill while someone else keeps rolling it back to the bottom. Eventually, you stop pushing. Humans require visible, compounding progress to sustain a difficult change. When progress feels invisible, motivation drops. This cycle of resetting to zero tricks the brain into abandoning the effort right before the mathematical system has a chance to work. This is why crossing the $5,000 threshold changes how your money behaves. At this level, your savings act as a structural shock absorber. A $900 car repair is still annoying, but it is no longer a disaster that forces you into debt. It becomes a survivable expense. Government agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau emphasize the importance of this buffer precisely because it prevents these small costs from spiraling into a cycle of harmful borrowing. When you survive an emergency with cash, your internal narrative changes. You stop feeling like someone who is bad with money and start feeling like someone who actively protects their future. The first $5,000 is valuable because of what it prevents. It stops panic spending, eliminates late fees, and ends the constant stress of living one bad week away from total ruin. Break the goal into smaller wins. Focus on $500 for surprises, $1,500 for breathing room, and $3,000 for medium problems. Next, bypass your willpower. Set up an automated transfer immediately after payday. If the money moves first, savings happen automatically. Instead of agonizing over minor lifestyle cuts, look for structural reductions in your 2 biggest expenses, housing and transportation. Lowering a car payment or moving to a more affordable area creates more margin than any number of canceled subscriptions. Finally, redirect every financial windfall, like a tax refund or a bonus, directly into the fund. These lump sums can bypass months of slow, incremental saving. The lumpy, frustrating phase of early saving is not a sign that you are failing. It is the necessary work required to build a foundation before any real wealth can accumulate.